Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And of course, we're back with more Mortal Kombat, because what else would we be back with? Actually, at some point, we guess we'll just run out of games to talk about. We still got more movies, of course, but yeah, we're at Mortal Kombat 1, not to be confused with the original Mortal Kombat 1. I always kind of hate when they do names like this. I personally, it's one of those ones, I gotta say this right off the bat. It's like when Microsoft did the Xbox One. I was, at first you're like, well, what the hell am I supposed to call the Xbox One, the one I've been calling One this whole time? Well, no, you call it Xbox Original. PlayStation 1 always stayed PlayStation 1. Yep. They never changed that. It's still called PlayStation 1 to this day, but yeah, so Mortal Kombat decided to do the one thing here, and I don't know, every single time I always look at this, I always felt like what they really should have just called this was Mortal Kombat 0. I think that would have been a better name.
12 would have been nice.
Well, yeah, 12 would have worked too, I think.
Apparently there's code in the game or something. Somebody found somehow, I don't know if it was on PC or what, but it was some code for something like a download or whatever, MK12 and then underscore whatever the heck. And they're like, oh, see, it was supposed to be 12. But I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I don't particularly, one of those things I'm like, somebody got paid for this. Somebody got paid to think up, oh, you know what? Let's call it Mortal Kombat 1 because we're starting over. It's the new number 1. It's like, dude, it's just a stupid idea.
No, but, it reminds me of, it's the other thing I don't like is when bands do the self-titled album, but they do it like later in their career.
Yeah.
I feel like, no. You could, the self-titled, the only time you can do the self-titled album is if it's your very first album. By all means, call it the band's name. But once you're like 4 or 5 albums into it, do not do the self-titled album. I mean, even I guess you could kind of say some bands that have done it, like the Beatles kind of have, it's like the White Album. It's realistically a self-titled album, but everybody just refers to it as the White Album. That's what you know it by, but that's technically what it is.
That Black Album.
The Black Album, you know what I mean? Technically, I guess it's a self-titled album and so on. But to me, I always feel that's like that one where it's like, it just seems like you couldn't think of anything. You know what I mean? Like, not one of those 12 songs on there was good enough for title.
I'm pretty sure Unforgiven would have been a great title for Metallica. Gosh, I don't know.
Same cover, just says Unforgiven at the bottom.
Sad But True.
Yeah.
Holier Than Now. I mean, there's all kinds of great song names on there, and there's tons of albums out there where the album name's one of the songs.
Yeah,
maybe they didn't feel like any of those songs were fit to be that significant. Who knows?
Yeah, you don't know, but those are always just those minor little things that are it's just enough to kind of like be a pet peeve and so on. And strangely, that's how this Mortal Kombat 1 is, because now I feel like you always have to refer to Mortal Kombat 1 as in, the 2023 Mortal Kombat, or are we talking about the Mortal Kombat 1 as in the 1992, the original Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this game, it upsets me, but it also, I enjoy it. I know that's very vague, but I guess that's what we're about to get into. So it takes place, obviously, oh boy, I'm about to sneeze. I'm going to keep myself from it.
If you sneeze, there'll be a time warp, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no kidding. Hope there's no butterflies around. Takes place right after MK11, MK11's aftermath, where Liu Kang and Shang Tsung fight, and you have those two options, and it's something to keep in mind for later on that you find out in Mortal Kombat 1 is Shang Tsung and Liu Kang fight. Liu Kang wins, as you would expect, and goes to create this new reality. Well, we don't quite get you don't really get much detail in that at the end of 11's aftermath. All you see is that, he goes up to the great Kung Lao and talks to him. He's like, oh, you're much more humble than my pal. The younger Kung Lao, whatever. And as you learn in 1, he goes into it that he recreated the timeline. In 11, in that ending, I thought he just started over. I thought he, just went back in time. I didn't realize he recreated things, and this game is full of recreation. In a lot of ways, I don't care. I'm sure you don't either. Like ways that they change some of the characters that it's like a lot of fans are bent out of shape about. Is different. Was it a good choice, bad choice for the developers? I don't know, but I also just don't care that much. We're not summing things up yet, but overall, like I have to say, the story makes me sad. It makes me upset sometimes, and it makes me want to like punch myself in the face with all the time traveling and the stinking. If you thought time travel was bad in 11, holy crap!
Yeah.
One, and what did they say? I think they say timelines like 80 times in this game. The timeline, the timeline, the time, and
it's not Raiden saying it, ironically.
Oh, yeah. And but I will say, despite the weird ass story that I don't have. It stumps me, man. It makes me speechless, kind of, even though I'm running my mouth a lot. But it gets me speechless at a certain point. But that said, I do got to say I really love the gameplay. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the game. It's fun. Like I just pretend that it's something else story wise, but.
Well, you know what I do? I look at this game kind of like an Elseworld story, like it really is. I don't consider it like it's not the main Mortal Kombat storyline for sure. I consider it like it's some goofy, like kind of spin-off what ifs type story. What if Liu Kang tried to guide history a bit, and gameplay wise, yes, I do think this one is phenomenal. I love the way it plays. Fun. I like the fact that they fixed that one because there's one main issue I have with number 11 is that they do the powered up attacks, where it takes just like 1/3 of your bar.
Oh yeah.
They switched it to R1 for some dumb reason in Mortal Kombat 11, and it's not like that in 9 and 10. Well, this one puts it back to block because it's just I can't have that many buttons going on at once. My brain can't comprehend that. That was like always the hardest part I had with 11. So they sort of fixed that, which is cool. And I will say the one thing that stands out a lot about this game that I always kind of was the first thing I noticed when playing it. I love the aesthetic of this game because to me, the look and feel of it is like a 1970s Shaw's Brother kung fu film.
I was thinking that earlier actually as I was driving home from work. Was it plays? I want to say initially, especially as you're checking out like the new Raiden, the new Kung Lao, whatever. Very interesting, actually. I thought so. The first 20 minutes, half an hour of this story, like I was actually pleased, very pleased. I found it very interesting, very intriguing. I liked some of the changes that they made. I liked how Raiden was no longer a god who had his head up his ass. He was just a normal farmer, a normal farmer guy.
It almost feels like Liu Kang sort of punished Raiden. He was like, what, for all that shit that we had to go through over the years, and you like placing me as a champion, pulling me out as a champion, and so on like that. Guess what? You're gonna be a farmer.
Yeah, but yeah, him and Kung Lao, of course, they're farmers, and like very brotherly and very cool. And then they go to they do their little like like you can't beat me. Oh yeah, I can. They fight, of course. You can't have a Mortal Kombat story without a friendly quarrel. And then of course they do their chores and race each other with a cart full of produce, and then end up at Madame Beau's restaurant, which it took me like 20 minutes to realize. Oh, they redid Bo' Rai Cho.
Yeah,
Bo' Rai Cho is no longer a big fat man. He is now an elderly woman who owns a restaurant. And
that's weird because like I was thinking about that myself, and I was like, well, is that supposed to be Bo' Rai Cho, or is that lady? I always just was like, is that like Bo' Rai Cho's grandma? That's like, I wasn't too sure because I feel like you could still have Bo' Rai Cho in there because once again, this is like
good.
Early days Mortal Kombat, because once again, going back to like the aesthetic of this real quick, is by having that like super 70s kung fu vibe. like they sort of focus really hard on everything that's all like the martial arts sort of aspect
Yeah.
of Mortal Kombat, and they actually take everything that's not really like straight martial arts stuff, so all the special forces characters, all the robots, all that stuff. Well, they save it for a little bit later, but for the most part, none of those characters are technically really in it. You know, it's mostly all the straight, like, here's all the kung fu guys.
In fact, I don't think there's any special forces in the entire game.
No, because they just have the weird. Well, because the other gameplay feature that's different in this one is they have the cameos. So
That's right.
some of them, like Sonya Blade, she's only a cameo in it, and so on like that. And even though that's my favorite character, I'm kind of like, I don't mind every once in a while if they pull some characters from Mortal Kombat. It just makes you look more forward to them when they come back in the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
that's kind of like Noob Saibot, who wasn't in 10.
Yeah.
When they put him in 11, it's like, oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, you almost get more excited when they kind of come back, and because the way that the aesthetic is, like, I kind of get it. Like, you know, technically Jax isn't in it. You know, I mean, he's there as a cameo as well too. But like, none of the special forces, no Kano, none of the.
That's another weird thing to think about. No Kano in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, no Kano, no robots. You know, they come technically in the part 2, but we'll get to that when that time comes. At the moment, none of that stuff's in there. So I think it's kind of cool that it just focuses on that kind of element.
Yeah.
So I think when it sets up, it is really neat, and I will say, like, the characters look really cool. I like actually the bright, vibrant colors. It's kind of a different contrast to Mortal Kombat and so on. I know there'd be somebody out there who'd be like, "Oh, they're softening it up." Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Liu Kang's in charge of this world, so it's supposed to be kind of like different, you know. And I think because Liu Kang is like the god kind of creating it, it's like he can't take things out, but he can kind of like guide it. Is how I feel like it sort of works. Like,
so this is that's kind of what I thought was weird. Like, I might have just been thinking too much or not thinking well enough. I don't know. But as you progress through the story, you see familiar characters. You see characters that you haven't seen in NetherRealm yet, but were in the Midway games. And some of the characters, such as Shang Tsung, of course, he's back. But he's not the sorcerer that he was prior. He's just kind of an idiot. He's a scam artist. He's trying to sell fake medicines and potions and stuff, like snake oil kind of thing, you know? And people catch on to him and they beat the crap out of him, and he just kind of sucks. And this character, Damashi, who, interestingly enough, I don't know if you remember from the Midway series, but Damashi, I didn't know this until I was watching that like 3-hour video I was telling you about the history or the lore of Mortal Kombat. Damashi was actually Onaga.
oh, really?
Yeah, Damashi was like the spirit, if you will, of Onaga, luring Shujinko into completing all these quests and wasting his life to basically resurrecting him using Reptile as a host. So Onaga actually uses Reptile's body to come into fruition. But anyway, that's who Damashi was. And I didn't know this, my original playthrough through MK1. I was just like, Damashi, okay. And I thought it was just a random name. I was like, this Damashi sure looks like Kronika. And I was kind of pissed. I was like, I hate Kronika. I don't want to effing fight Kronika again. I don't want nothing to do with Kronika. That weird baby-looking PS5 outfit. And but anyway, Damashi. We'll just keep Damashi on that back burner for now because I'm not going to spoil it right away. But Shang Tsung meets this Damashi character who says, "Hey, you know, you got potential to be really something fantastic here," and we see the end of him. The game goes back to him, and then of course it goes back to Liu Kang and getting his Mortal Kombat people ready for Mortal Kombat, which is another thing. I'm like, why is there Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, like, well, and the way I try to look at this game, and I try to do the thing like, okay, instead of trying to go against the grain on some of the choices, I go, okay, I'll try to make it work and try to fit. And I
Yes,
feel like
yes.
and that's where I feel like it's that thing that like Liu Kang can't, like, he can't go there like God power, like just choose whatever he likes. He can just kind of make like sort of decisions. Like things still have to kind of happen in the general sense, but he can do those weird kind of guiding things. Like, well, Shang Tsung, instead of being in charge of the castle, you know, he's a snake oil salesman, you know. You can take some of the characters and almost sort of place them and kind of guide their path is about all he can sort of do.
And I think this is the problem with like franchises or just stories, whatever, that start to do the whole time travel thing and the whole like revival type of thing is when you write this character that has these awesome powers that can do whatever or make something new, there becomes all these questions that people have. You know, like, well, why wouldn't he just do this? Why would he even bring him back? Like, that was my thing talking about Shang Tsung. My thought was, why would he even bring him back?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's been nothing but trouble, and now he's like, I just won't make him powerful. It's like, you think that's going to work? You know, this guy has every trick up his sleeve. And, of course, the other characters, you know, like Quan Chi and Shao Kahn. Of course, now he's not Shao Kahn, he's General Shao. Yeah, General Shao's chicken. And, but you know, every time one of these characters would come on screen, I'm like, why? Why? You know, like, you had the opportunity to just like fix stuff and make things better. I guess you have, but at the same time, like, why are you even messing around with this? Like, and it comes from, you know, being somebody that I'm like, I want to remove every possibility of problems from the equation. It's kind of like running cable, you know, like you want to make that drop just one long stretch of cable. You don't want tons of patches in there unless you don't feel like running a drop, I guess. Maybe Liu Kang just didn't want to run the drop.
Exactly. Yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? But
yeah, what you say makes sense. Like, I guess whether or not it's implied or just explained, he can't just, he's got to keep all the people in it and just work it the best way he can. And I guess he did the best job that fire gods can do.
Yeah, and I think it's that thing too. Like there's a little bit of destiny involved, and I think some of these characters that you might try to like sway their path a bit, and you can sway it a bit, but they're still gonna, you know, Shao Kahn is still gonna be evil. Shang Tsung's gonna still be crafty. You know what I mean? Like all these characters there. Once in Blue Moon, you'll get some characters a little bit later on, like Reptile. Reptile's kind of different in this one. I actually kind of like the way they go.
I really like Reptile in this game, actually.
You know, because Reptile in all the other games, he's always just like hey, there's an evil bastard right there, and then he gets beat up, throws him to the side. Okay, let's carry on with the mission. That's all he ever is.
He's like Shocker from Spider-Man or Rhino or something, you know. He's that B villain that doesn't. He just kind of throws some punches, spits on people, and then eventually just gets beat up.
Yeah. No backstory. Nobody cares. This one he actually has a little bit more, and I think it's a kind of a cool change that they put in.
Yeah, they gave him some depth. You know, he's got a family. Before, like in 11, you know, not 11, in 10, I think the character ending that he has, like, he ends up finding like a bunch of Zatarans, and it was pretty cool. But like other than that, he never really I think in 11 they say that his race is exterminated, blah blah blah. But in this one, yeah, he had a family, and he was I guess Shang Tsung told him that he had him locked up and he'd be able to see him again after he helped him out, but he was lying, and you know, he was typical Shang Tsung.
Yeah, he's just crafty and manipulative and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so after we go back, you know, they give you a little Shang Tsung and Damashi and whatnot, and Liu Kang does his, you know, oh, we're gonna go get ready for Mortal Kombat. Of course, you're wondering, why do you have Mortal Kombat? Why? What is the purpose? I mean, is there a threat to the realms? Because he's got this good relationship with Outworld.
Yeah, you know, but maybe that's what it is. It's like people want fights. You know, you can't just take away a fight. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, you can't just have a Mortal Kombat video game without Mortal Kombat. It is what it is. So no matter how much sense you try to make of the story, you got to remember, don't take it seriously.
See, this would be a perfect opportunity to work in that kart racing thing and be like, yeah, Liu Kang saved the world. It's like everybody just battles in kart racing now.
Oh, and one thing that
nobody's really evil anymore.
One thing to keep in mind, at this point, Liu Kang is actually not the Titan with all the time controls that you find out. it actually turns out that he relinquished all those abilities to Garrus, and so that he could be Earthrealm's protector instead of the Time Titan. And when I saw that too, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool, because I liked Garrus from the other game.
Yeah.
But then I thought, you make this guy, and I don't see why he couldn't make anyone else this guy. I'm like, you make this guy who like was literally trying to end you prior, and everyone else that you loved, like you make this guy in charge of time, and like you just automatically trust him. I mean, like, who knows, man? And maybe it's because like he's kind of like the steward of time, you know. He's not the keeper of time, you know, when he was working for Chronica, but he's like, I guess it's almost like this weird timeless contract, timeless. Yeah. And but I'm like, why wouldn't you give that job to like Kung Lao, your like best friend, you know? It's like whatever. But he gives that ability to him, and then recruits Johnny Cage, who is like kind of, it seems like he's like struggling as an actor. Like he's got all those bills and stuff. His girlfriend, wife, whatever she is, she leaves him. You never see her again. And then
she literally never comes back. Actually,
no. And then what's his name? Kenshi shows up at Johnny Cage's door, which was it was like interesting. This is kind of new. And he shows up to get Sento, which Johnny has on his wall.
Yeah, because he spent like $3 million on it or something goofy.
And then, of course, after he shows up, then the Raiden and Kung Lao and Liu Kang and everybody, whatnot. I think some enemies showed up too. If I kind of.
Well, they have it where like, because like there's a test that goes on at Madame Beau's house or her bar or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
You know, they're having dinner or whatnot and so on like that, and then Scorpion and Sub-Zero show up, and it looks like they're tearing the place up and so on like that. But what it turns out is that no, this was a test, and they wanted to see if Kung Lao and Raiden could take on Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and if they could, and Smoke's there too, you know, they'd be able to work together. And this is probably like the first other major change you see, other than the fact that Raiden's not Raiden.
Oh yes,
is that they make Scorpion and Sub-Zero brothers in this. Well, at first you don't really know that. You just see it's like, oh, they made Scorpion and Sub-Zero working together, so they're buddies and friends and so on like that. But as that story goes on, you realize, oh, no. Sub-Zero is, you know, the original Sub-Zero, and then his brother is technically, instead of being a Sub-Zero now, he is Scorpion. And that's the weird thing about that is, one, if you think about the history and stuff like that, well, Scorpion's Japanese and Sub-Zero's Chinese. Yes. So there's this weird, like, Liu Kang's just like, we're gonna just interbreed these guys all together.
I wasn't even mad, man. I'm like, why did they make Kuai Lang Scorpion? Like, why wouldn't they just get rid of Kuai Lang and just keep Hanzo as Scorpion? I'm like, who thought of that? Like, I didn't understand the reasoning at all. I didn't understand the reasoning at all for Kuai Lang to be Scorpion, for Hanzo Hasashi to not exist. Bi-Han being the original Sub-Zero, sure, that's what he's always been. And I'm like, but then why leave him as Sub-Zero? And like, what is going on here? But it's like, it's one of those like, I'm just gonna keep playing.
And, just go with it. That's all you can.
Hell, Smoke is still Tomas. I gotta say though, I love the character designs. I thought they all look great. I love the classic ninja looks. I do, and nothing will ever replace that. But the way they made these characters look so good. Like it's just insane how good this game really looks. And but yeah, it turns out to be them and their Earthrealm's protectors with the Lin Kuei, and they passed, even though the ninjas are really upset because they got beat up.
Yeah, they're like, we were holding back. Yeah.
Raiden's one of my favorite characters to play in this game, if not my favorite.
No,
I found him to be just one of the best.
Well, and one thing I'm going to say it's actually pretty neat in this, and I can't remember if they do this in 11, but I'm not too sure, is I like how this game, as you're playing the story, like the characters like earn their moves over time. So like when you start, sometimes like the first time you play as a character,
Oh yeah, you're
they
right.
might only have one or two special moves, if that even. Like I think Raiden doesn't have any special moves when he starts off.
He doesn't have any lightning because
Yeah, well, he doesn't have lightning yet, but I mean, I don't think he even has any like regular special moves. And like as the game goes on, it's like the characters kind of earn them, and that happens with a lot of the characters in it too. Where you'll start off with like one or two moves, and then next thing you know, you got two more, and then you have like the full set by the time you're done playing as the character.
That's right. Yeah, he after that fight though, yeah, they go. I think that's when Kenshi shows up at Johnny Cage's door, and then they fight and so on and so forth. And then the rest of them show up, and Johnny Cage is like, "What's going on here?" And then they recruit him for Mortal Kombat. And then after, it was like such a nonchalant Mortal Kombat. Like everyone's nice. Like,
well it's also the weirdest thing too, is because the way they choose it is, okay, so you have like Earth's Defenders, which happens to be Johnny Cage, Raiden, and I'll have to say this: Johnny Cage is actually about as normal comparatively to everybody else.
Yeah,
he's almost very unchanged for the most part.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got to be.
He's kind of the same thing.
Left alone character.
I mean, all they do is they change sort of his movie thing. Like they almost make it out like, oh, at first it's like, oh shit, maybe he's because like when they first starts off, he's in like this Indiana Jones like movie, and they literally have like a Steven Spielberg like guy.
I thought for sure like that he was about to fight Havoc.
Yeah.
That character that they had, you know, like this was also, I noticed this game had like they used. I felt like it was kind of cheap, using a ton of character palettes for other characters.
Yeah, they do that. They do that in that Johnny Cage, because he's pretty much in this Indiana Jones like story. Which when I first saw this, I actually in my mind I was like, oh, well, maybe what Liu Kang did is he made Johnny Cage actually an A-lister. Yeah. And so I pictured him like in this universe, Johnny Cage was the Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? Instead of being like the B movie kind of action guy, now he's the A-lister. But then of course, like anything, fucking they pull that rug out from underneath him, and they realize that no, he's just in there because he owes some guy some favors, and that's the only reason he's here. And he's really on like the downhill, and it's like, oh, okay. I actually thought that would have been a better way to go, though, is the fact it's like, oh no, actually in this world he is like literally top of the game. But no, they don't do that to him. They pretty much just make him regular Johnny. But what I was saying though is going back to like when they're doing like they all go to like the monks area for the Shaolin and do their training for like, I don't know, 3 months or something like that. And it's Johnny Cage, it's Kenshi, which Kenshi's like a Yakuza member in this one too, that, you know, is obviously done good enough for Liu Kang. And then of course you have Kung Lao and Raiden and so on. And they have a weird way they decide Mortal Kombat. They're like, well, this is how it works here, is technically there's only one Earth Realmer, and between you five, fight each other, and we'll just see who's the best, or you're four, and fight each other, and then we'll just decide. And then like Raiden wins, and then it's just like, well, you guys can come by and be his cheerleaders. It's like such a weird notion. Like, why even? You know, I mean, I guess they got a free ticket to Outworld, so what not? You know, but then they get to Outworld, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna have to fight 7 people in a row, Raiden. It's like what? Like the worst part too, I have to say this.
What the heck?
Is Ed Boon is still in charge of this game, so it's like for the logic. If it was made by a bunch of random other people that like, you'd be like, okay, I get it. It's like Disney Star Wars. It's not George Lucas putting together, so there's a lot of like off thinking here. This is like if George Lucas was still in charge of 7, 8, and 9, he'd be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, for sure. No, what I read happened with this game was, and I think it was just like fan theory plus like insider like knowledge from people that didn't want to say like who they were or something, like people who knew someone who worked on the game, was that, and again, I don't know how much truth there is to this, but the word was that NetherRealm was actually working on Injustice 3 and for a while, and I guess they were told by like someone above them, like maybe even Warner Brothers completely, had put that on the back burner and said, no, we want you to put out Mortal Kombat 1 for the holidays. Like, make it a holiday sale. Like, put off what you've been doing and just get this game out. So, and leading to the game being really rushed. And it kind of makes sense to me for a couple reasons. Again, the graphics are freaking amazing. I don't think the story is completely bonkers. I do appreciate a few aspects of it and a few scenes for sure. And I like I agree with what you were saying about the style of it, like kind of plays out like a 70s kung fu movie. And then I really love the gameplay, of course. And I'm pretty satisfied with the DLC characters. They're the only one, and people have said how freaking fun he is. But I thought that Ghostface was the lamest character. Like, he's a teenager with a knife, man.
I felt like that. I hate to sort of say, who would have been a better choice? Mike Myers.
Of course.
Yeah, like 100%. Like, you know, though granted, I feel like he should have been technically in Mortal Kombat 10, so he would fit with all the other kind of horror characters. But that would have been kind of the cooler one. Or I think I mentioned this on one of the last podcasts, but I kind of wish they went with a theme when they did these DLC ones. Because they seem to just randomly pick stuff. It's like, you know, I think that as I said, I would have thought that, like, say if 10 you just did like horror movie characters was kind of like the theme, and then 11 you did the action movie characters because you had RoboCop and you had Rambo and Terminator and all that stuff, you know. And then with this one too, it's like, why don't you just do martial arts type characters? Like, give it a theme. Like, it can be movie pop culture stuff, but this one has really weird characters. It's just like there's two random characters from like The Boys. Then there's, you know, Conan, which is awesome. You have the T-1000, but he doesn't have a Terminator to fight, so it's just kind of like, oh, here he is by himself. Yeah. And then you have Ghostface, you know, I would say Ghostface Killer, but it's not him.
That'd be hilarious.
And then, and I guess that's about it. So there's kind of bizarre choices there. It's weird because you mentioned that about like the thing being kind of rushed out, you know, for like a holiday release and so on. Because I will say, all in all, the game doesn't have really much of a rush feel. It just has a weird story choice. What makes me feel like I kind of understand the rush thing is it has nothing to do with the gameplay, has nothing to do with the visuals, and the story, not so much. I think somebody just strangely made a weird story. I don't think that has anything to do with the rush. I think what was probably rushed was the fact that there was no crypt, and in its place there was that invasions. It is what it is. Like, I don't solely play MK11 for the crypt. I love the crypt in 11. I think it's fantastic. But that said, I Invasions is just okay. And there were some of those stupid levels on Invasions that seemed impossible. And I was like, dude, this isn't even fun. There's nothing fun about some of these. And luckily you're able to skip them. But again, I know that customization on characters is not the main draw for Mortal Kombat. The fighting is, the gameplay. However, I did kind of miss a little bit of what was in 11 versus what's in 1. It's quite, the difference is quite stark. Like, it's not as much. But again, like, that's a pet peeve. That's like, I'm really nitpicking there. And I think that the criticism for it being rushed, like I said, I can see where people might get that idea, and I can see where there might be some truth to that. But at the same time, I'm not totally like, oh, this is not even finished. Like, it seems like that's what a lot of people are saying these days about games. It's not even finished. It's not even finished. But I mean, I don't know. It was finished enough, I guess, especially after the expansion too, which that one also went in some interesting places. But like all the way up until that Mortal Kombat, again, back with the story here, all the way up until you fight and everything. Shao Kahn, okay, of course, like we said, Shao Kahn's back. Liu Kang decided to, make him alive again, and but now he's not Kahn because Sindel is Kahn. Shao Kahn is just a general, a trusted general, and the character design's okay, I guess. I feel like they really neutered him. Like,
in 11 we were talking about how they really nerfed him. Like he's still a big bad Shao Kahn, but he was nowhere near like had the prestige that he did in the prior game that he was in. Like, well, I mean, for one, he's not even a boss battle. You know, he's just another character. And in one, of course, you take that and you magnify it because now he don't even have a crown. You know, he's just a dude. Him and Reiko having all their good buddy times. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, and I'll say this is some of the stuff that I think is actually kind of neat. I actually do like the fact that they make Sindel Khan in there. The only kind of bummer I will say, though, is if you go back to Mortal Kombat 11, is the Katana Kahn thing is so cool. That's just...
I know.
If anything, there's a lot of these things where Mortal Kombat does in this trilogy, I guess you would say, or quadrilogy of games by this point, where they'll have a great idea in one and they'll totally just either not do it or toss out in the other, like Katana Kahn, Dark Raiden, you know, and I know there's a few other ones that we could think of, but that's the thing too, is because like Katana's really just kind of sidelined in this one. But I will say the trade-off is, that I think is kind of cool, is Melina actually gets a lot more spotlight in it. And I like the fact that Melina's
a totally different character.
She's an actual daughter in this one too. She's not just some weird, you know,
creation,
underground clone thing of Katana. You know, because I always think I kind of like that more. That's like, oh no, Melina and Katana are actual sisters. You know what I mean? And in this one, instead, it's like no, she's just got some Tarkatan disease going on because there's been some Tarkatan spreading around here lately.
Yeah. So that is cool. I did like that. And once again, like that, I'm telling you that Mortal Kombat lore video, like really enlightened me as far as like these NetherRealm series versus the Midway and everything that they chose to include, take out, put back in, whatever. So in my first playthrough through Mortal Kombat 1, I was like, I don't know how much I like Sindel as a not villain character. It just seems weird to me. Well, in the original Mortal Kombat Midway games, Sindel was never evil. The only times that she was actually evil is because she was bewitched. And in Mortal Kombat Aftermath, as you see her evil, of course, she, you know, like tells Katana she's an idiot and she's not strong. And she's like, Shao Kahn's the man. And I love this guy because he will kill everyone. Like NetherRealm apparently made that change from the Midway. Like I guess like later on in the 3D games, Deception, Deadly Alliance, so on and so forth. Like there was one of the endings where it was like she saved Katana from something and she got revenge on Shao Kahn for killing her husband or whatever the heck. And she was a good guy all along. And in this one, NetherRealm, they made her evil in 11. And then she was kind of evil in 9, but she was also like brought back from the dead. And I had the idea that they like brainwashed her or something. But in of course 1 now, she's good again. And so I can appreciate that again after the the learning moment that I had with that lore video. But so
and then once again, keep in mind it's still Ed Boon. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
Is like we still have the same guy who's been there at the writing table the entire time.
It's almost like this guy that's got this giant mural that he's been working on, just one brush stroke at a time every year. And then he's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to change my mind here. I'm going to switch that up. You know, and it's so crazy. But yeah, no, I did really like her as Khan. Like you said, though, I feel exactly the same way. I was really bummed, like, because once you get to that point in 11 where Katana is Khan, you're like, wow, we're really making headway here. Like this is really cool. And that also happened in the Midway games. She became Khan. But and then of course at the end it all changes, and then it changes 100% for sure in number 1 and blah blah blah. But
well, and Katana really gets put on like the low end of the table here because you would think in the super happy ending of Mortal Kombat 11, it's like the one where like Raiden's like, hey, you and Katana, or you, Liu Kang and Katana, you work together to build the perfect world. And it's like, cool. And then it's like, no. Instead, it's like, no, Liu Kang gets the gay ending. Instead, he's like, no, get that skirt out of here. It's me and you, Liu Kang. This is the real ending.
Yeah.
So like they do that, and it's just like, boy, does Katana just get kind of shelled. I'm not saying she's bad at all in this wonder. They just kind of relegate her back to like her Mortal Kombat 2 status.
Yeah,
it's just like
much.
Here she is to sit the side of the table of her parents, and try to make headway here. But the only trade-off I will say is I do love the Melina stuff in this one a lot. And I think that's actually probably one of the stronger parts of this game, is because I always think Melina's a really cool character, but the fact that, most times she's your evil clone.
Well, that might be why too, that they really gave her the spotlight, is because for every game since Katana and Melina have been characters, it's always been like Katana, like fuck Melina. She's a weirdo. She's a weird abomination. Katana's the one. And I guess they were just like, hey, it's time for a change. She needs some support. And so after they go to Outworld and whatnot, Raiden competes in the Mortal Kombat. I guess now it's just like a tradition thing. Like, it's not about the merging of realms. It's just a fighting tournament.
Just sell some merchandise.
Yeah. And they. Raiden wins, of course. General Shao's not happy about it. He's a big pouty Shao, and
his General Chao's chicken didn't go so well. So
nope. And unbeknownst to Sindel, General Shao and Reiko have gotten in touch with what's his name, Shang Tsung, and they're doing all these experiments and stuff, and then he eventually presents himself to, behind the scenes, you don't see it, but to Sindel. And like you brought up, Melina is not a creation. She just caught the Tarkat. She caught the Tarkat, which now is not a race of people. It's a disease. So Baraka, who is back, he was in 11 too, but Baraka is now not like its own race. He's not a Tarkatan.
Yeah.
He's a human, or I'm sorry, a resident of Outworld. I don't know if he's a Denian or what, who has caught this nasty ass disease, as is everyone else who's with him in these shitty little desert tents. And I was like, that's a pretty interesting idea. I'm not sure whether I like it or not. I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, at the end of the day, Baraka still plays like Baraka. Baraka's still Baraka. I don't have much of an opinion on whether or not I thought that was a stupid idea. I mean, I thought it was interesting to have their own race as the Tarkatans. But the disease is interesting.
I will say it does give me a little bit of, it feels like it was designed for Melina's story arc is why they did this, because they're like, well, Melina's always had this weird Tarkatan teeth thing that nobody's, it's kind of explained, but it's kind of like, it's just sort of there. So they're like,
can't bring her into the game as a normal person.
No, so I felt like they're like, is she gonna have the veil on or something like that? Like, let's think this through. So they're like, well, instead, we'll just make the Tarkatan thing a disease. So it makes sense for the Melina character. It's like, oh, okay, so Shang Tsung's, he's got an injector with Tarkatan, spinal fluid or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know why, for some reason, that keeps it down. If I take the fluid out of the people that are diseased, that will cure you. Whatever. Let's go with it. So he's doing that, but then it's like, okay, so now you got Baraka and all his people, and they're just diseased people, and Baraka's just been able to survive it better than everybody else. His entire family died. They make him a tragedy character and so on like that, which I will say is kind of cool, because I've always thought that like Baraka's always been the bad guy, so it's cool to see like, oh, you get to play as Baraka. He's actually like kind of one of the good. He's like one of the good guys in this game. I think that part's kind of cool, just for a different change up. But
he was kind of I don't know if he was necessarily bad or good in 11. I guess he was kind of a neutral character. He was just there, and they recruited him.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
But now he's like totally not a bad guy. Mm-hmm. He's a victim.
Yeah. The same way Reptile is, because you kind of meet those two at the same time in this game.
Yep.
And you realize these guys have all been victims of Shang Tsung and his crafty ways that you would expect to see Shang Tsung. Which the other funny thing too is like when I was a kid growing up, and you would have asked me after about the first handful of Mortal Kombat games came out, be like, well, who's the main villain of Mortal Kombat? Shao Kahn. hands down, Shao Kahn. You know, I know it's not in the first one, but just overall, Shao Kahn. And as time has gone on, I feel like in these games, they really make Shang Tsung as more like Liu Kang's mortal nemesis, more instant with Raiden than anything else. Shao Kahn's like, he's almost the big brute, but he's almost became more like Goro status in a weird way, like as these games have gone on.
Yeah. Yeah, he really has, actually. In fact, Goro's presence is very minimal. Actually,
Goro gets dropped in. He's like really demoted. He's even smaller in this game. He's like a, you know,
he's a 9 and 10, and 10 he's only there as a DLC.
Yeah.
It's man, I feel like I can't even remember if he's in 1. I think he is as a background character. Maybe.
Yeah, he's in the story mode. I think he might be one of the cameos. You know, and I'm just gonna say this real quick because we kind of mentioned the cameos, but how do you feel about those cameos? Like as far as gameplay goes,
I'm pretty indifferent. Some of them I'd rather just have them as playable characters. I don't, or tag team. Like I the cameo thing. Excuse me. I think it's neat, but that's all it is a cameo. And it's not a guaranteed hit anyway. The all I can think about is Marvel vs. Capcom with the cameos.
The very first one when they had that before they had it.
Where like you could have like Iron Man show up and you know, blast the enemy real quick and then he jumps away, that kind of stuff. Because that's exactly what it is. You know, like they don't do anything other than one attack for like a few seconds and then boom, they're gone. But I don't know. I think it's neat. It's nostalgic, I guess. For me, it doesn't really fit the story mode. It's purely a gameplay thing. Why would you have normal Sector and Cyrax, you know, when you have the girl Sector and Cyrax that show up in the thing? Well,
yeah.
I mean, and then the same thing with Jax, Sonya, so on and so forth. The original version of Scorpion is a cameo. I mean, that's an insult. Cameo Scorpion, cameo Hanzo, but that's almost the same thing as just keeping him as a Revenant.
No.
Poor bastard, doomed to just give an attack here or there.
Doomed to the L1 button. Yeah, no. No, it's one of those ones like I know why they did it to do that like thing. It's just like to ease the tension for not having certain characters.
Those characters are here. Don't worry.
Yeah, they're kind of here. Don't worry. Hanzo's here. You know, Sonya's here. You know, Jax is here. I think gameplay-wise, though, I think it kind of gets in the way, in my personal opinion. I don't think it's really a great thing. It's kind of I feel like, you know, especially if you want to do waste. If you want to do a hardcore tournament or something like that, I think that I don't think you'd want to have that stuff in there. I think that would just be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I was kind of upset that you can't turn it off, at least to my knowledge.
No, I don't think you can. It's kind of like the same thing too. Is that like I've even thought about this over time? Is you know, as cool as the X-rays and all that stuff kind of look, I feel like if you're playing, once again, if you're playing a serious tournament, why would you want that on? You know, I think you'd want to be just a straight up like mano-y-mano, just regular fighting. Like you don't want the cameos and you don't want the X-rays or like the fatal attacks or any of that stuff.
I think they're cool, but after you, like, if you're playing the game to like build your characters up, to get points, to just play the story mode and everything, they take so much time. Like, that's the thing that irritates the heck out of me. Like, I wish you could just skip it. Do your attack, sure, but I mean, like, damage. Oh man, and I think it was 11. They were just so long. I think 9 had like the shortest ones. You know, that's when it was X-ray, and it was actually still X-ray in 10, and then 11 it was Fatal Blow. But yeah, the I'm not a big fan of the cameos. I'm really not. I think it was exactly what you said. Like, let's we can't put all these characters in here, but let's try to keep these guys happy and you know. But
yeah, I think it's one of those ones. But I do think that I think the game would probably be, even though I don't know, I really like the gameplay, but I think the gameplay would be better without them in a sense.
Yeah,
I think they kind of cluster it up a bit, almost even the same way. Even though I don't mind the fatal blows, like they have a time and a place. I'm not against them, but I mean, sometimes I almost think that they could almost be pulled out of the game too. And
I like them. Okay, like when you're playing with your buddy, like
yeah,
you're playing a few matches. It's like cool. Like it's well, I don't want to say you're not going to play Mortal Kombat all night because nothing wrong with that.
No,
but I mean, like typically, you like every now and then, if I have one of my friends come over, we'll play a little bit of 9, then we jump on to 10, and then 11, whatever. So I expect maybe like 2 rounds each one, whatever, and then we go on to completely something else. Perfect Dark Zero, like, whatever. But yeah, as a tournament thing, it's kind of annoying, kind of tedious.
Yeah, as I said, I just think it's kind of a weird one, and a lot of times
usually
it's like
kind of cheap.
Yeah, what I personally like more in Mortal Kombat games is I like just having the souped up attacks that you use the 3 bars so that you can have more powerful like of your standard special moves. I think that's good enough in my opinion. Like I don't know, maybe it just feels like one of those ones like because I feel like fighting games always feel like they always got to up the ante and add something else. Because then there's that point where you go, you know what? Maybe it was just kind of better when it was nice and simple. There was a perfect balance, and then you added too much more. I mean, and then all games kind of started doing it. Because I remember Dead or Alive did it where they put like the whatever the fatal blow type stuff in there, and so
I'd love to use those special attacks if I knew how to play. I'm still terrible.
It's okay. That's why they give you a guide and everything in the games nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, the lack thereof in the game cases, but
oh yeah, not in the game case. You got to press start, and be that person to find your fatality and everything like that, which sometimes even I'll say is, I know that traces back to the old Mortal Kombats, but I feel like why don't we just make fatalities like you just press a button nowadays? I hate to sort of say it, but like it's stupid to put them like I remember like when 9 came out and everybody would do that. They were like, oh, let me press start real quick, and then they'd flip through the menu like pop, 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 pop. And it was like I'm like in the arcade, it makes sense. You would look that thing up and you would memorize it. And then when you went to the arcade the next time, you'd be like, dude, check this fucking out. And then you would do it and be like, oh, and it was cool. But like nowadays, if you have to press start to literally look, you might as well just press a button. You know what I mean? Like pressing start and having to look it up real quick is so stupid. So stupid.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones. I think it was Mortal Kombat 4 had it where you had to input a code, but you could put a code in and then you either press like the left or right trigger and you could do one of 2 of the fatalities. I'm like, that's how it should be. You know what I mean? Like whatever,
and
then they try to put those like fatality tokens in there. It's just like, well, it's like, yeah, okay. So I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I get it. It's a holdover from back in the day, and I know that people would bitch if you took them out. But let's be honest, like if people are pressing start to look them up, we don't need to have them in the first place.
Oh yeah, no. Well, anyway, I guess it's important to note the Jared, the husband of Sindel, he's been killed again, so he's just seems to die no matter what. And Lee May was blamed for not taking care of that, for not taking care of him, and
yeah, she was on watch, and she failed.
She's in the doghouse now.
Which I'm actually glad Lee May's in here because she's actually one of my favorite characters in this game. I like her a lot.
Oh yeah, I like playing as her too, quite a bit.
Yeah, she's got some really good moves. Other than that stupid like lantern that kind of just floats there, and you just hope that somebody runs into it.
Yeah. Jeez. But yeah, so there's that, and General Shao, tells what's her name, Sindel, not to trust Liu Kang and this and that and blah blah blah. He's got ulterior motives. She's kind of like, okay, maybe, yeah. She's not quite convinced, but interestingly enough, after that tournament that Raiden wins, Liu Kang hears about some crap going on with Shang Tsung, the guy that he made sure was not going to be any threat. Nope. Yeah, he is a threat. So of course, not wanting to be suspicious or anything, he decides to sneakily send his new warriors, Raiden, Kung Lao, Kenshi, and Johnny Cage, into Outworld to go investigate without saying anything to Sindel. And it's like the perfect scenario for now war to break out or whatever. But yeah, they find exactly what we already talked about. They found Reptile, or they found the Tarkatans, who aren't really Tarkatans. They're normal people who've been infected by Tarkat.
Yeah.
And Shang Tsung extracts the bone marrow, runs back to his flesh pits or whatever, his slave pits or whatever it is. I just saw Guar, so I can only think of slaves and pits. And and that shirt behind me, that's a white shirt that got just annihilated by the
by the Guar juice.
Yeah, man. But anyway, so they go back to his area. They crawl up into his workstation, his laboratory, and they witness him almost about to inject Miliana with something, which, you think, oh, we better save her. So, of course, Kenshi goes over there, goes to save her. They fight, I think, Reiko. They fight Shang Tsung, blah, blah, blah.
Raiden's there.
And Rain, that's right. Yep. Big nose Rain. They made his nose really big in this one. And they're successful in fighting these people. But as Kenshi saves Miliana, he gets his eyes taken away, as we suspected he would. She rips his eyes out, and because what Shang Tsung was actually doing.
Well, she stabs him of the size, right?
Yeah. And you know that what Shang Tsung is doing is he lured them into this trap, by doing a good thing for Miliana and like getting the stuff to heal her. She's got the Tarkat too, and that's the secret, and it makes her mouth become Miliana mouth. So by injecting her with that bone marrow, this magically makes it go away temporarily. But they don't know that. So they think he's going to poison her or whatever. They try to stop him. They kind of do, in which case it allows her to become Tarkatan and nasty. She stabs Kenshi in the eyes with her size, and that's how he gets blind. And then they get thrown into jail, held prisoner by Reptile, in which they very easily persuade him to just let him out and help. Well, no, I don't think he lets him out, right? I think they escape somehow, and then I forgot how they got out, but they get out.
Yeah, they get out.
And with Reptile's help, they get out completely of that prison. That's where Reptile also learns from Shang Tsung, who shows up and then leaves, but learns that his family's all gone. They're dead. They died many moons ago, is what Shang Tsung, I believe he says. Yeah. So, of course, Reptile throws a fit, and he's like, screw this. I'm going to help you guys. We're going to go. And they recruit him, and they all run out into the woods. So it's the four heroes, Baraka and Reptile, and they run into Ashra.
Yeah, which is pretty sweet.
Super cool character. Another midway character. I thought she was super cool, really fun to play as. The demoness who wants to be good.
Yeah. Well, and the thing too is she hasn't been around for a while too. It's like, which is, I think that's what makes it really neat.
It's her first appearance, if I'm not wrong, in the NetherRealm series.
Yes, it's the first one in this round of games, because technically the last one would have been Armageddon, of course, but yeah. And then she appears in that Johnny Cage movie we watched too. So it feels like they were kind of pushing her a little bit more in recent times. But I think that's really badass. It does, and same with what's her name, Nihara or whatever.
Natara.
There we go.
The demon. She's like a vampire.
She's like a succubus. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And she fights Natara. This is when she joins the heroes, the group of heroes. They end up running into Quan Chi.
Yeah, Quan Chi.
Who's not white.
Yeah, he hasn't got his white,
he hasn't got his soul sucked out yet.
I actually gotta say this too about Natara, because I remember this the very first time I played this game, is whoever they got to do the voice acting on her is like, geez, it felt like they just picked somebody off the street. Like, it really sounds like you had somebody who's like never done voice acting in their entire life. And I feel probably bad because probably the person has done a lot of voice acting, but like, I was like, wow, this is a really bad choice. I'm not gonna say necessarily a bad voice actress. I'm gonna say it was just a bad choice for that character. Like, it just sounds like not threatening, does not sound like a succubus demon, just sounds like man, are you sure that you have these strong feelings like that? I don't know, like it felt like they asked, like, did you ask the secretary to step in and just get a couple lines done to save a couple bucks? I mean, you're only Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're kind of spot on there.
I thought about it the first time I played through the game, and then the second time we played through it right now for this podcast, I was like, oh yeah. And then since we just brought it up, I'm like, yeah, that always stood out to me. I know that sounds like a weird nitpick thing, but like comparatively to all the great acting and all the the cinema type stuff they have in this game, like that just sort of stood out where it's like, if this was like 2001, I could kind of go with it, but it seems kind of weird for now.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So they, one of those things. I don't know if it's nitpicking or just like legit. I don't know. I'm on board with you on that though. But
I'm glad the character's there no matter what. So
oh
you know
yeah,
what?
no,
If that's anything, is like I love that both her and Ashra is there.
oh for sure.
You know,
Well, then they roll into Quan Chi, of course, and it turns out that he's in league with Shang Tsung.
of course.
Big surprise there. He's what was that? Oh yeah, the Deadly Alliance. Um, and they he's making all these giant soul like constructs, like sucking out all the souls of the soul forest and this and that to do what we're not quite sure. It's just he's doing something big. Well, then they get Ermac shows up and they beat him up, and then later on, they beat him up, and then they open a portal. They go, they beat the crap out of Quan Chi, and he gets his soul sucked out, and that's when he turns white. Kind of funny. And then they end up going through this portal, going back to Raiden, and Baraka stays behind. And then they tell him what's going on. They fill him in, and then he's got some explaining to do to Sindel. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. This is why I did that." And then it turns out that, oh yeah, he sends the Lin Kuei, well, at least 3 members of the Lin Kuei, to Shang Tsung's place or somewhere in Outworld. I can't remember exactly where, but
Yeah,
but to go investigate. And
yeah, they go. Where the heck do they go out? Because that's like the other one. I guess they go to get Shang Tsung themselves. I guess is what.
That's right. They go to capture him, and of course, Shang Tsung persuades very easily Bihan to just be a bad guy.
Yeah, like, hey, you control this army right here. Pretty cool, huh?
To control the Dragon Army, which again, that's another ode back to Deadly Alliance deception, alluding to what you would believe would be Onaga. And he's like, yeah, this is great. Like, Liu Kang doesn't do shit for us, And Scorpion, quite Lang, is like, no, don't do that. Like, don't be dumb. Like, we don't. But to no avail. Bihan just immediately turns on him. Smoke sticks with Kuai Lang because Smoke's a nice guy. I thought it was kind of hilarious when they're like scaling the wall, and Smoke's just like
it floats up. I just like how each one has their own way. Like, I think it's like Sub-Zero's like sticking the spikes in or something like that. Scorpion's pulling himself up by the rope, and then Smoke just flies up.
I know.
He obviously gonna float them all up, I guess.
You would think Scorpion would just, yeah, I know, right? You would think Scorpion would just teleport.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so they escape, they get out of there, they go back to Raiden. He's Bihan's a traitor, blah blah blah. And then it turns out they get to this, they go to destroy these portals and stuff, and it turns out that what's his name, Quan Chi and Shang Tsung working together for this Damashi character turns out to be none other than Shang Tsung himself. In which case, a lot of people who are like Mortal Kombat diehards, remembering Damashi from the older games being Onaga, well, they were probably sorely disappointed because it was not Onaga. Thankfully, it was not Chronica. It ended up being Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
And the Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat 11, who survived somehow, and it's explained as when he fought Liu Kang, it shattered the realities, and now everyone had their own version of time. Like, I looked it up again, and basically every ending from Mortal Kombat 11 is canon. Like, so, every character had their own timeline where they were in charge of the freaking hourglass.
Yeah. So Rambo and Spawn and everybody.
And so now this the Shang Tsung that you fought at the end of Mortal Kombat 11 reveals himself to be the Damashi and the ringleader of everything. He's been pulling the strings, and that's how Shang Tsung got his powers in this new timeline. That's how Quan Chi's doing all this crap. Is because of the OG Shang Tsung is just doing all this hoopla, and in the efforts of fighting, everyone, for good, for evil, whatever, Sindel ends up dying, not before naming, I think it was Melina, her heir.
Because Melina's like the chosen princess in this one.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and before that happens, they fight Ermac again. This is basically the Scorpion thing, and this have to be the two things that piss me off the most. And it's like I'm cool with change, but I was just like, this is so ridiculous. In fact, I dislike this more than I like the Scorpion change, and I love Scorpion, so that was kind of hard for me. But they defeat Ermac, and somehow the spirit of Jared seems to go into him, and not only just becomes him, but they change his face.
Just pushes out all the other spirits, like, hold on, out of the way, you. I'm taking this body over.
It's like, I seriously thought it was a joke at first. I thought it was a joke, and I thought he was like, Ermac was just going to be like, ha, I ate his soul, and now you still have to fight me. But no, Ermac now becomes a good guy, and he's Katana's dad. And I'm like, dude, this is so dumb, is what this is. And then but then when Sindel dies, he absorbs her soul, and the dumbest thing that I felt about this was the fact that you didn't get to know who killed him. I thought for sure that they were going to be like, now that I'm here, I can tell you the truth about what happened. It was General Shao,
Or, dun dun dun.
Or whoever it could have been, but they never say anything.
Yeah, there's no clue mystery to solve this one.
I was like, what the hell? And so that was pretty bizarre to me. That was really, I was like, okay, come on, Ed. You got some explaining to do here. Like, what were you thinking? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's a weird. I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to put okay, so Melina and Katana could actually have their father appear for a moment or something. And I see how it sort of gets pieced together. You're like, well, if there's a guy who was absorbing a bunch of souls earlier in the game, maybe he just ran. It's still
even if he just showed up for a few seconds to say oh, Katana, Melina, I love you. Don't be afraid or whatever. And hey, this is who killed me. I don't have much time left. Oh, go say that. And then he goes back to normal Ermac. That would be cool.
That would be fine enough. But the fact that he stays like that for a couple of chapters.
Forever. I was like, dude, why did they do this to Ermac? Or whatever. I was like, that's really weird. And it was like, that's where I was like, man, almost everyone in this game is nice. There's almost no villains. Shang Tsung, I almost can't even consider Natara a villain. She's just following a guy who she thinks is going to be a great leader. I don't know. But pretty much just Quan Chi and Shang Tsung were pretty much the only villains. Shao Kahn's not really... It was almost hard to call him a villain because he wasn't the big bad, and he didn't have much status other than being a general. Sindel put him in his place, and then you beat him up anyway. But I mean, he was more of a henchman. But it was almost everyone was a good guy, or just neutral, and it was very interesting, very very odd to say the least. But
no,
so
it's some weird choices there and whatnot like that. Yeah.
But so they basically, after they find out all that Shang Tsung #1 has been scheming, they try to put a stop to it, and it's like, oh, and well, I'm here with Quan Chi and blah blah blah. No, I'm sorry. The new Shang Tsung was partnered up with Quan Chi. So then Liu Kang and his pals team up with Shang Tsung and
Quan Chi.
And then Garrus gives the timeline powers back to Liu Kang so that he can summon the other timeline people that were his original friends. Katana shows up. Oh, my Liu Kang. Oh, wow. And that was one thing. When I first played this game, I was like, how's this possible? She's supposed to be like not even in existence anymore. Well, it wasn't until after I'd learned again about how Shang Tsung, the whole, they're fractured. Now everyone has their own hourglass. You just don't know it because it's a different timeline. And again, you hear timeline throughout this whole damn game. And
so much time travel, so much, Weird thing is, they only pull like a few of them out. They get Raiden. So classic Raiden, I guess, shows up, or whatever the heck he is. You get, of course, Katana, which, I mean, it is kind of cool. It's like the original Katana and whatnot. It's like that. But it's still kind of weird that sometimes multiple timeline stuff is, I don't know. There's a few things in storytelling that I feel is kind of like
very difficult to make it work well enough for you to not wonder what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times I always call it kind of a cop-out for storytelling.
Oh, absolutely.
And
it's like multiverse.
Yeah, multiverse, time travel, all that kind of stuff. I really will say there's actually very few things that I truly actually like it in. For the most part, I'm kind of anti that sort of stuff. Now, granted, for this video game, we just need it here so there's people to punch at the end of the day. That's kind of what it's doing. But it is getting kind of like this game is like, if you thought it was kind of out of control at first, oh no, wait, it's going to get more out of control.
So then
it's going to get more weirder as it goes along too.
And then this actually, we're getting right up to where it was probably my favorite part of the game. So at this point, I guess it's worth stating too that Kenshi's kind of healed from his wounds. He's become better. He's learned how to use Sento without his eyes, and Sento moves and thinks and everything for him, blah, blah, blah. They've all gotten back together. Like I said, it's now all the different timeline titans, their warriors, Liu Kang and his warriors, and then Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, and they've all teamed up to go fight the OG Shang Tsung and his buddies from the other timelines, and blah, blah, blah. And it's this big final battle, very similar to Armageddon, very similar to the beginning of MK9, and also the end of MK9, kind of.
Yeah.
And this massive battle. The difference between it and the end of Armageddon was just all the basic characters in Mortal Kombat, which was many. Yeah. This time, because of all these million timelines, you're seeing like 80 different versions of every character. It's kind of hilarious. It's probably my favorite part of the game because of how outrageous it is. You got like you got the Ninja Mime, Johnny Cage. You got like 8 different Johnny Cages. You get to see the combat kids again, which is
die really quick too.
Yes, I do. And then like I said, like 5 versions of every character you fight as you're climbing up this pyramid or whatever the heck it was. And then it's long too. Like that was longer than I expected.
Yeah. Well, this game actually, because at first I was thinking like, oh, it's going to end on chapter 12, right? Just like the other Mortal Kombat's kind of is. Like, oh, no. It goes on for a couple more chapters past this. And when you get to this literally Armageddon part, where it's interesting too, because the game, you're at the very end, you're like, okay, we've teamed up with Shang Tsung, like the Liu Kang's version. They've been playable characters for a moment and so on like that. But now we got to go take on, big bad original Shang Tsung. So here's Liu Kang is pretty much saying, you choose your fighter. And it literally gives you the entire roster that you can pick from in Mortal Kombat 11 or 1. And you could pick, and it's like, because at first I was kind of like, okay, I'm like, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think of who the heck I picked the very first time I played that game. I think I picked Mei Ling, oddly, or Li Mei, I mean. Mei Ling, that's Metal Gear Solid. Li Mei, I picked Li Mei, and I think I went through it just because I like that character so much. And this one, I picked Melina this time, because I'm like, you know what? If there's a character that feels like they could be the kind of like the ending character, and I'm like, I think Melina in this game actually does. Because really, I'll even say this, when I was thinking about like this game ending on chapter 12, I almost want to say chapter 12 is Melina's chapter or something like that. So it makes you feel like, oh shit, it's going to end on Melina, because I was kind of spaced out on like what the ending was, even though I only played it like a year and a half ago. but I kind of forgot since then. So like, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go through this round with Miliana, and for some reason she's like in her demon form when you choose that character, or the Tarkatan form, and I go through there, and you play. There's a lot of like characters that I think they just do the thing where they sort of fuse the characters together.
Yep.
So they'll have like two characters and like half the move set and so on, and half the looks and whatnot. And it's kind of cool. It's very novel, and it's kind of it reminds me like it would be a good like randomizer for like just like a challenge, like a survival mode in a fighting game, where like go as long as you can, but you just gotta fight just random variations, and they'll get more and more wacky as it goes on.
Yeah.
That will make them tougher and tougher. You know, to the point where they might almost become kind of cheap because they have too many good moves. But so you kind of go through there, and you have different cutscenes along the way, and I kind of always wonder how different they were depending on who you choose. Because
I was kind of wondering that too.
Who'd you pick this time?
I picked Raiden.
Okay. And that's the other logical character if you want to see, like, it seems like that would be the chosen one to end it. It's weird if you pick like Natara.
I think I picked Raiden.
Yeah.
It was either him or Scorpion. I think. I'm pretty sure it was Raiden. But yeah, no, it was. But yeah, at that point, then it's as you would suspect. You know, you're gonna fight. What's his name? Shang Tsung. You beat him, and then you got that end scene where you and your partner are fighting, you know, the Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, and then because they weren't just going to be like, all right, well, we're friends now. No, of course not. So you fight Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, and you knock them into that big giant Solnado thing, and they die. And then, you know, you've saved everything. Liu Kang thanks everybody, sends them back to their timelines, whatever, and then has dinner with his regular like buddies, and then like congratulations, you know, that kind of crap.
You got Raiden, you got Kung Lao, you got Kenshi and Johnny Cage, and of course Johnny Cage is already milking this for a movie script.
Yeah. oh yeah, and then Tomas and Kuai Lang, I keep wanting to say Ghost, Smoke and Scorpion have totally abandoned the Lin Kuei because, of course, Bihan's a dick. And Tomas is just, him and Kuai Lang form the Shirai Ryu with Scorpion's new wife or fiance.
Yeah, which once again, it's like, he's like, yeah, we're moving to Japan now. Fuck that China shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So strange, but okay.
Yeah.
And then that leads into the expansion. But
yeah, so
what a wild freaking ride, man. Like
it really is, because I'll say it's like as well as was, if you just play it and just go along with it, you're gonna have a great time. The game plays, you know, great. It's fun. There's all kinds of, you know, interesting things along the way. If you just look at them like interesting things, if you take it too serious, I think that's where, you know, you know, especially if you feel like, you know, they're destroying everything of my Mortal Kombat childhood. You know, yeah, you got to pump the brakes on that a bit there, or else it's gonna bother you. That's
one of those things. It's like, what did you want? You know, 10 more games where the characters are still sprites. You know, like, as in the you know the characters from 1, 2, and 3, like
where they just, you know, digitize them.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. You know, like it's
going to change. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, I feel like there's about 3 generations of Mortal Kombat stuff. You have the original kind of about 1 through 4 era. Then you have the 3D era with, because 4 is kind of like the bridging one, but I still feel like it fits closer to 1 through 3 than anything else, because that's what it plays like. And then you have the 3D era up to Armageddon and so on. And then you kind of have what you would say the modern era, that once again, 9's sort of the bridge of that, technically even Mortal Kombat versus DC. But then you have this, and so I feel like it's either one of those ones like, you know, I know we have that second part to kind of play through, and I never really got to finish that, so that'll be fun to talk about. But for the most part, one that I would kind of hope that they do as they go farther into Mortal Kombat, whatever the heck they go into next, is like 13, or you're just going to skip a number, whatever. You skip 9 in a sense, number-wise, even though Mortal Kombat 9 is called 9. But
they're going to call this next one Mortal Kombat X, but not as in 10, and not as in Mortal Kombat 10, the game. X
Yeah.
the game. It's going to be X as in like it's the new version, the Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah. One thing I just would like to see more than anything is just to, in a sense, simplify the story. Rip out all the stupid time travel stuff. Don't have any interdimensional
No
junk.
kidding. No kidding.
Just get rid of all that and just go back to a classic, and at least go for like a trilogy's worth. Like, go for 3 games, and if somebody dies, let them be dead for the next 2 games. I don't care. We have like over 100 Mortal Kombat characters. By all means, start pulling from the roster. I would just like to see it just like a little bit more like stick to something, because I think that's what makes 9 and 10 so good, is they stick to something in that one. And even though 9 has like a Raiden's like, if I could turn back time, kind of,
it's different though.
It's different, and that's one of those ones, like, it literally had been 20 years, so it's fine to do a turn back time thing. Where I feel like with 11 and 1, you keep having these turn back time things, and it's like, well, they only turned back time 2 games ago, like, and then you do it again, like, it's like, and the interdimensional and all of that stuff. As I said, if you take it just as face value of just what the game is and just enjoy it for whatever goes on, it's cool. And there's a lot of like neat stuff in there, but I just would like to see them stick to a story, like let Katana be Katana Kahn and run with that for like 2 games, like, or at least a full game. Like, I like the idea of her just being like, the game starts off, she already is Kahn, she stays Kahn the whole time, but let's see how it goes.
I'm right there with you on that one.
Yeah, there's just a lot of those kind of things in there that, like, I just kind of hope comes together, in the next one. And just the weirdest thing is, like, the way that these last couple of games feel like that they play out is almost like if a different company took over. But Ed Boon is still there at the tippy top of the credits. So I you know what I mean? That's the weirdest thing.
He's probably not even doing half of anything. He's probably just like, okay, looks good.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna make money out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just rolling in that, like, Mortal Kombat, dough. I always feel like John Tobias probably. I always wonder, what is that? I haven't heard what that guy's been doing.
That dude's probably in a deep depression.
Yeah, it's like he's probably so pissed he sold those Mortal Kombat shares off in 2001. Like,
I'd be upset.
Yeah, like, it's probably going to phase out. No. It's literally probably about as big as it's ever been, realistically, if you think about it. Other than maybe the original Mortal Kombat, like, a couple of years.
Yeah.
But, when it was just like a phenomenon, and of course, Joe Learman's like, that's the death of the children, violence, this and Night Trap. Like, did you ever fucking play Night Trap? Well, hell no, I didn't play that. Like, okay, well then how about you play something before you start talking about it?
That's funny.
But yeah. So, but overall, it's like, the character roster's cool. It still plays fun and so on like that. I'm actually kind of looking forward to finishing part 2.
Oh yeah.
Because I started up when I bought it, and then like once we kind of started doing these, I'm like, well, I guess I'll just put it on hold and save it and so on. But see where that all goes. I remember that one has some kind of goofy other time travel stuff in there, but you just kind of take it for what it is, But yeah, no, Mortal Kombat 1, it's still neat. I still like it. It's still Mortal Kombat. It doesn't so radically change. It's like it's just there to like super piss you off.
There's
It's just like
some very interesting choices were made.
I think, and I think that's the key word, interesting.
Yeah, still worth it. Still fun to play. But yeah, it is what it is. You either play it or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll continue this fun-filled Mortal Kombat 1 discussion going into part 2 on the next episode. But yeah, beyond all that, you can always check out all the podcasts on YouTube and Spotify, as well as Newgrounds, too. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.